Hello, and thank you so much for clicking that little button that allows you to watch this video. My name is Katie Marietta Tondon, if you don't know me already, and I am here to share a crazy story with you. It is the most vulnerable thing I could possibly do to start out this channel, but I think it's important for people who have experienced a spiritual awakening to share the details, because for the people who are behind us and who are beginning to experience things, I think it's vital that we have other people to say, yeah, what you're going through is not crazy. You do not belong at the mental hospital. You are actually waking up and you are actually coming into a brand new life that is going to be so much better than before, before your mental break. So I just wanted to share what I experienced, even though there are some people who will probably watch this and think it's insane. That's okay too. I'll let them be and I'll send them off with love. Um, so my story started as a child of a Southern Baptist preacher, and I won't go into the details of that religion specifically, but just religions in general tend to keep people pigeonholed into these kind of structures, and it doesn't really allow us to see other ways of being. So I'll just leave it at that. But being raised in this way, obviously very involved in the church, I thought that was, the way, until something pivotal happened at the age of 12. And those details are a little bit more private. And I do plan to share those details in the community that I'm building. More details about that in the description notes. So if you want to find out, all the details about Katie, you can join the community. But something happened at the age of 12, and I completely uh, got turned upside down with what I had been brought up to believe, and I became agnostic. And for 20 years, I was questioning God's existence and didn't didn't even really believe. Like, I was probably more so on the atheist side. I just after 20 years of searching and seeking, could not believe that there was a God that could allow things to happen that happen in the world, and wouldn't make himself known, if especially for someone who's like trying to connect, and to find out the truth. So I in those 20 years, I became I thought I was highly functioning, and I really was. I was holding down a wonderful corporate job, married, two beautiful kids, well off, but I was struggling internally, and nobody probably really knew it. I was an alcoholic, so I was, and gosh, this is going to make my throat chakra open up. I was, so it runs in my family, alcoholism, and I'm sure many of you can probably relate to addictions. But I got to a place where I was drinking nightly, and not just a glass, like usually a bottle. So it was, I was in that place, and I was really just struggling. I would also go through kind of like binge drinking episodes where I would drink just kind of like my normal amount, and then whenever there was a large event or celebrating a friend's birthday or what have you, I would binge during that event, and I would experience bipolar episodes. So another fun fact is, bipolar runs in my family too, and for me, it didn't really rear its head until alcohol became such an issue for me. So I was struggling, but we had just gone through a cross country move. We've moved around a bit, but we had just gone through a cross country move from California to the East Coast. And um, I don't know, something about the transition and something about um, being back in this space uh, must have triggered something. I don't know how to explain it, or maybe the timing was just appropriate for me to awaken. But I went from one day talking to friends, saying I just don't think I will ever be able to get past this doubt because I need certainty and I can't just have faith in God if I haven't experienced something. The very next day is when God spoke to me, and it's it's really insane when I think back to that because in that moment, like I really was going to give up. I said, "This is it. I'm going to give you one last chance." And I mean, I meant it. I was like, "I'm done seeking because I get emotional." Um, Trying for so many years to find the answer and to know for certain and to be on the fence for so long was just so difficult. So I was done. I was like, okay, I'm going the other direction. So see you. This is your last chance. And wouldn't you know, of course, in that moment, I heard a voice in my head, and that voice was not my own. It was not this typical rumination and the typical, like, it was confident and it was precise and it was an answer. Like I asked a question and it was an answer. And I I paused and I was alone, of course. I think being alone, is very important. In order to come to terms with these kinds of things. But um, I went on to, from that answer and just saying, wait a second, am I really hearing what I think I'm hearing, to having like a 3 hour conversation with God, um, and getting answers to things and saying, okay, like I absolutely know now. And um, in that period of time, I felt so much peace and I felt like I had a best friend with me answering my questions, and it was just so comforting. And I also just like started thinking that this voice that was answering me felt patient and kind, and like I kind of just like automatically realized, wow, God is love, because I thought back to like my upbringing of First Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind, etc. I don't know the whole thing. I probably should, but um and I immediately knew God was love. Anyway, so beyond that occurrence, my inner world started changing. The first thing that happened was, I mean, I immediately, like, probably within days, realized I've got to give up alcohol. So I went through a process of um, stopping alcohol, and that was challenging. But I am like 2.5 years sober now, so um, it's definitely the best decision I've ever made in my life, other than accepting Jesus into my heart, which, obviously one wouldn't have happened without the other. I really believe that. But so that my inner world started changing, and I started realizing things about myself that I had held onto for so long that weren't truly me. Perfectionism being one of them, and I still battle with it. Like it's not something that I'm cured from or whatever, but it's just things that I've realized now that my eyes have been open to. Um, but the biggest thing being love. So I just want to kind of get to like, oh, the nitty gritty of this and explain to you. So after this conversation, things started happening. I started writing poetry and songs. I'm not saying that they're, like fantastic or anything, but it was words that were not coming from like my head. It was just like inspirational writing that I had never done before. And so, I mean, just the writing would not stop. Songs after songs, poem after poem, mostly nature inspired. And so that started happening, and I was like, is this tied to, you know, finding God? And like, because I had never had that before. And so I was like, well, let me ask God. So I asked God, why is this happening to me? And I like literally got a response: you are closer to your intuition. And at the time, I just thought of intuition as like gut feeling, like mother's intuition, or, you hear these terms kind of loosely used. And but it felt stronger to me. And so I started researching it, intuition in general, and all this crazy stuff popped up. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't think that's me. It started talking about clairvoyance and clairaudience and all of these gifts. And I was like, none of that is me, but something is clearly happening. So I did some more research and, started learning about the chakras, because it was like one kind of rabbit hole, it led into the next. And then found out that I was a highly sensitive empath and figured out what all is involved with that. And that has been quite the learning experience as well, but also helps me to operate in the world better now that I know. And this led me to various, I don't know, various providers who were kind of like helping people along their path. And I came across the Shift Network, which you may have heard of. And there was this shaman on there. He had um, a brief time slot on there, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. I don't know. Anyway, I just felt a like I was drawn to him. And so I looked him up, and I was really skeptical, because I was raised like shamans are not at all something you should explore. It wasn't that I was necessarily taught that they were bad, but it was not what I was like allowed to do, or it was just not for us, I guess, is what I thought. And so I felt a little strange about it, but I started looking into him and doing a little bit of research and figuring out if he was um, legit, or like just trying to get people's money, because I was very skeptical, which I'm sure many of you, if you are experiencing these things and exploring practitioners who can help you, you may be feeling that way too. Drop it in the comments if you are, if you're like, yeah, I'm skeptical too, and I doubt people before I give them a chance. Anyway, long story short, I gave him a chance, and I will put his information down in the description as well, because I think he is a gift to humanity. And uh, so it was a simple 22-day program that I did. And let me just tell you, by the end of those 22 days, I had realized that I had clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, um, and I also, and I mean, I had like legit things happen during those 22 days that were just crazy. And so it just opened my eyes to the fact that we all have these internal gifts. Even if you think you have nothing, we all have these gifts, and I believe they're God given gifts. So I don't think they're crazy or woo woo. They are something that we're supposed to identify and explore. But by the end of those 22 days, I knew inside of me, like, first of all, by the end, my heart had, like, I almost thought that my heart was going to explode. It was pounding so hard by the end of those 22 days. And in retrospect, I believe that, maybe that was the death of ego or the death of the old me, or I don't know. I just know that I was very much changed by that experience. And I realized in a meditation that what my mission is to bring to the world, which I'm really excited to share with you guys, but that's not the point of this post. Um, so, continued to have experiences out in nature. I now experience the world in a completely different way. It's almost like the day to day, what we live in, this 3D world is just a cover for what's really out there. And the only way to find what's really out there is to come back to yourself and to realize that you have God right inside of you. And it is the love that we're meant to share with everyone. So I think love is absolutely the answer to every problem. And it's not only like love thy neighbor, which is obviously a crux in the Bible, but it's also loving your enemies as well. Maybe that politician that you can't get on board with and drives you crazy, or somebody who has harmed you in your lifetime, or things like that. I just feel like love is the answer to everything, despite what the human form does, because we're all limited and we all have our quirks and our issues that we're working through. So, anyway, I share all of that to say, first of all, I want more people to share what they're going through, which is why I'm creating a community for people to do this. The more and more I talk to people and hear about what they've gone through and how lonely they are when they're going through it, and also how scared they are to talk about it, because these things can seem absolutely crazy to other people who are still living in the 3D matrix. Um, but I want people to share, and so that's why I'm developing the community. And then, secondly to that, I was so scared to, buy this program from this shaman, because I thought he was, fake and like weird or whatever. And I want it to be easier for people to reach this amazing place that I've reached. Um, and so that's why I'm developing an app to create a vetted list of lightworker practitioners. Anyway, more details in the description, and you can check me out if you want to. But I do want to hear from you if you have experienced any kind of spiritual awakening, or honing your intuition and your gifts. I do want to hear from you. Like, what convinced you that a practitioner was legit and made you actually um, purchase from them, or get their services? Just tell me in the comments, because I really want to hear how you have navigated that path without having a directory. So I just want to see kind of what that has looked like for you. I can't wait to hear from you, and thank you for listening. Wow, if you got to this point, kudos to you, and we're going to change things. So thank you. Bye. Have a blessed day.